Meeting of Fitchburg City Council. I now call this meeting to order. Please be advised that FATV is conducting audio and video recording of this meeting for public broadcast. I would ask that anyone else in the audience who is recording this meeting to please identify themselves for the record now by standing and stating your name and city of residence. Seeing none, at this time I would ask that all electronic devices be placed into silent mode. Councillor Green, would you lead us in a salute to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councillor Green? Here. Councillor Schultz?
Here.
Councillor Van Hazinga?
Here.
Councillor Walsh? Here. President Zarella?
Here.
Councillor Boschman?
Here.
Councillor Kuchar?
Here.
Councillor Cragen? Here. Councillor Cruz?
Here.
Councillor Di Natale? Councillor Femley?
here remotely.
10 members present.
Thank you very much. The only people we have signed in remotely are here for our presentation. So if there is anyone in the audience wishing to speak at public comment, please approach the center podium, identify yourself by name and city of residence, and identify the agenda item on which you wish to speak, and you will have 2 minutes. Welcome.
Agnew, 245 Central Ave Extension. We're here on 069-25. We just wanted our road accepted because every time we call to get it fixed, they tell us it's a paper road, and they just fixed it for some reason. I don't know why, but we'll take it. But the thing is, this past winter, the plowing, you couldn't get a fire truck up there, an ambulance. There's 12 different houses up there now. There used to be 3. So we'd like to get the road accepted if we could. So if you could put it in advisement, we'd appreciate it. That's it.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, sir, just for your information on how the process works, tonight that item will be referred to the Public Works Committee.
Yep.
And then they will debate it and give a recommendation to the council at their next meeting.
Okay.
So we won't actually be voting yes or no tonight.
Okay.
But you will be able to see the posting on the city website when the Public Works Committee is scheduled to meet.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing none. We have our announcements. The next meeting of the Widowed Helping Widowed Support Group will take place on Thursday, April 10th, 2025 from 4 until 5:30 p.m. in room 205 at the Fitchburg State University Recreation Center, 130 North Street. Kelly Lynn and Bernie Schultz will co-facilitate the meeting. The Lenten Fish Fry continues to take place this Friday, April 4th at Madonna of the Holy Rosary, 118 Teresa Street, from 4:30 until 7 p.m. Next Friday, April 11th, is the last Friday for the fish fry this year. The Stratton Players will be putting on Alice in Wonderland at Christ Church, 569 Main Street, on Fridays, April 4th and 11th at 7:30 p.m. and Saturdays, April 5th and 12th at 2 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. Tickets are $15 or $10 for students and seniors. On April 5th, there will additionally be a Mad Hatter Tea Party luncheon catered by Finicky Fork at the theater. Seating starts at 12:15 p.m. and the show is at 2 p.m. Saturday, April 12th, there will be a dinner and a show at Slattery's, benefit for the Women's Fund of the Community Foundation of North Central Mass. For all of these events, you can email strattonplayers@gmail.com. That's STRATTON, players, one word, @gmail.com. And that concludes our announcements. Next, we have the report of the Appointments Committee. Councillor Kuchar.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Appointments Committee met earlier this evening. We took up one new appointment for the Fitchburg Historical Commission, term to expire April 1st, 2028, Brian Gallagher, and it was unanimously approved.
Motion to approve. Second. I have a motion and second. If there is no objection, no, I'm sorry, I have to do this by roll call.
Councillor Green?
Yes.
Councillor Schultz?
Yes.
Councillor Van Hazinga?
Yes.
Councillor Walsh?
Yes.
President Zarella?
Yes.
Councillor Bushman?
Yes.
Councillor Kuchar?
Yes.
Councillor Cragen?
Yes.
Councillor Cruz?
Yes.
Councillor Fleming?
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Report of the Committee on Records.
On behalf of Councillor Martina Talley, who isn't here with us tonight, I'd like to report that we have reviewed the records and they appear to be in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Madam Clerk?
Councillor Green?
Yes.
Councillor Schultz?
Yes.
Councillor Van Hazinga?
Yes.
Councillor Walsh?
Yes.
President Zarella?
Yes.
Councillor Bushman?
Yes.
Councillor Kuchar? Oh, he left. Councillor Cragen?
Yes.
Councillor Cruz?
Yes.
Councillor Fleming?
Yes.
All right, passes.
Thank you very much. We have one item of housekeeping. We did actually need to vote on the appointment of the special police officers at the prior meeting, so that I would ask that we have a motion to suspend the rules so that we can take care of that tonight.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk?
Councillor Green?
Yes.
Councillor Schultz?
Yes.
Councillor Van Hazinga?
Yes.
Councillor Walsh?
Yes.
President Zarella?
Yes.
Councillor Bushman?
Yes.
Councillor Kuchar?
Yes.
Councillor Cragen?
Yes.
Councillor Cruz?
Yes.
Councillor Fleming?
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you. So the matter of the appointment as special police officers of Kerry C. Siamus and Timothy M. McDermott is now before the council.
Make a motion, we accept.
Second.
I have a motion and second to approve both appointments. Madam Clerk?
Councillor Green?
Yes.
Councillor Schultz?
Yes.
Councillor Van Hazinga?
Yes.
Councillor Walsh?
Yes.
President Zarella?
Yes.
Councillor Bushman?
Yes.
Councillor Kuchar?
Yes.
Councillor Cragen?
Yes.
Councillor Cruz?
Yes.
Councillor Fleming?
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
All right, we have one new appointment letter. David DeJesus as a member of the Fitchburg Human Rights Commission, term to expire April 1st, 2028. That stands referred to appointments. We have a reappointment letter from myself, Council President, of Joanna Bellata as Fitchburg City Clerk, term to expire April 19th, 2028. That also will stand referred to appointments. We have the annual report of the Fitchburg Redevelopment Authority for fiscal year 2024 and audited financials for fiscal year 2023. If there is no objection, we will place both of those on file. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
I was just curious if there were any questions.
Okay, thank you. If there is no objection or any questions, then we'll place that on file. And then we have a special presentation from Director Murphy of a digital equity plan.
Thank you. I'm here tonight with Jeff. Say that again. Jeff LeGros from MRPC and an associate, Gregory Goodland. So the city of Fitchburg, this is actually a long process. So I think some of you may be aware that there's federal funding that came down around digital equity planning and broadband implementation. One of the steps is that the state had to create some plans and then communities had to create their own plan. And that's where MRPC came in and helped us to develop this plan with quite a bit of community outreach. So I am going to stop talking because he knows much better than I do about this digital equity plan. So please take it away, Jeff.
Thank you, Liz. Appreciate it. Good evening. Thank you for having us. With the Council President's permission, I'm going to share my screen presentation.
Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you for being here. As Liz said, the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission has prepared a digital equity plan for the city of Fitchburg. With that, a little bit of background on the program. So there's really a couple of different aspects to the program. It's sponsored by and administered by, funded by the Massachusetts Broadband Institute, which is part of the Massachusetts Technology Collaborative. The Municipal Digital Equity Planning Program is the funding program, and as part of that, the City of Fitchburg was awarded $40,000 for planning services by the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission to, one, prepare a plan, and then two, to assist the city with preparing an application for implementation funding. The great thing about this program is it's not just a plan for the sake of having a plan to sit on a shelf. It's actually doubled with a implementation program grant. So if you do the plan, you automatically qualify for implementation funds. And as of now, the city of Fitchburg has $56,603 and change currently reserved. So as soon as this plan is accepted, we'll begin work on an application for implementing some of the actions within the plan that we'll discuss today. And that $56,600 is guaranteed funding already on reserved, but the city can apply for up to $100,000 in funding through that one program. The great thing is there are even a couple of other programs available simultaneously. They don't usually allow that either, but for this particular program, the city can apply for another program to do similar or additional projects identified in the plan as well, which ultimately means that the city could end up receiving, if successful, several $100,000 worth of funding at a time when I think it's pretty important, right? The new library is coming about. If you've been by, you see it's really coming along, down to the bare bones and starting back up. I'm sure it's going to look beautiful when it's done. And essentially, the city's ready for these types of improvements that are identified in the action plan. So I think the timing is really great. One, funding is there, and like I said, two, the city's in a great position right now, I think, to utilize some of those funds. So with that, I'm going to go through the plan. I'll try to keep it pretty quick here. Ultimately, there are 6 main components of a plan. We've put together an executive summary for your review that summarizes the plan in about 6 pages rather than having to pour through the 100-plus pages of the plan. But within that plan, we have an introduction. We discuss digital equity, an overview of digital equity, what it is, why it's important.
Excuse me, Mr. President, could we have a brief recess while we get the technology glitch figured out?
Yeah, that sounds like...
Glitch with an our end. I just asked Dan about it. It's a glitch on our end that we can't see it, but all the viewers at home and Marissa can view it without the interruption of in and out.
Okay. If everyone's fine with it, yeah, sure.
I can see my screen. I'm happy to carry forward. And the presentation will be made available, already has, but it can be posted on the web even for you guys to see afterwards. And anybody who's interested after the meeting, if they wanted, I could go through some of the slides for folks here in the room.
All set?
If anything changes and someone wants to give us a notification, if it does go down online, we'll take a quick break. So picking back up where I left off, the third section of the plan is the planning process. As Liz mentioned, we had a pretty comprehensive public engagement process, outreach to stakeholders. Then we did an existing conditions evaluation citywide, and we did a community needs assessment. And then finally, we developed a vision and goals and actions to support the needs that we identified. So really quickly, the overall purpose of a digital equity plan is to understand existing conditions around internet access. What access means in this digital equity world is basically, they call it the 3 A's of access: availability, affordability, and adoptability of broadband internet, digital technologies, and digital devices, right? So that's what the whole purpose of the plan is, to assess access for those things. And with a particular emphasis on certain covered populations that are identified within the Digital Equity Act. I already mentioned that as soon as the plan is complete, the city is eligible for other funds. The covered populations that are identified in the Digital Equity Act of 2021 are individuals of covered households, aging individuals, incarcerated or previously incarcerated individuals, veterans, individuals with disabilities, individuals with a language barrier, which may include English learners or lower levels of literacy, and individuals who are a member of a racial or ethnic minority group. And finally, one that doesn't apply here in Fitchburg, but does apply through most of the region, rural residents. Section 2 of the plan gets into the digital equities, values, and practices. I talked about the 3 A's of digital equity. And on the right, you kind of have 3 components that are important: internet connectivity, devices, literacy, and skills. And the graphic on the lower part of the screen kind of gives you an understanding of the difference between equity and equality using the stack books. I think it's a pretty good way of looking at it to understand the difference between the meanings of the two. And ultimately, the process aims to assess community needs and develop a comprehensive action plan. The digital equity planning process included a public survey. The survey was available at City Hall, the library, the Senior Center, the Veterans Center. It was advertised on the city website and social media sites, other community-based organizations, and some local businesses, as well as at community events and pop-ups and on the MRPC website. We also conducted several and various stakeholder interviews, held focus group meetings and public workshops, core team meetings, community events, and pop-ups throughout the process. Ultimately, what did we find? The existing conditions in Fitchburg. Fitchburg has relatively good coverage citywide for internet, greater than 99%, almost 100% of households have service. That doesn't mean that every household that has service or access to a service actually maintains the service. So subscription rates are actually considerably lower, between 11 and 15% lower than those that have access, around 88.2%. So what that tells us is there's some reason why 10 to 15% of the population isn't subscribing to the internet. Maybe they choose not to, and that might be a small portion of them. Others may have affordability issues, which was identified in the survey. It's difficult to afford a subscription. Others may not be comfortable using the internet, and so they dare not pay for a service they're not going to use, but they would like to use it if they were more comfortable and knew how to, vice versa. We also heard that some grandparents that didn't subscribe either are now subscribing or are interested in subscribing because their grandkids are more likely to come visit them if they have internet than if they don't. And the first question they have is, hey, grandma, what's the Wi-Fi password? So that was kind of interesting. And what we found, one of the major populations that we talked to a lot were the seniors. Through the Senior Center, we met with them several times and had a focus group meeting there. And we found that there were a lot of senior citizens that had to have better access to the internet, want to know how to use it better and on different levels, but they're really afraid of their own security and internet safety and things like that. So digital literacy is important across the board, but in particular for that group we found. This is just some graphics showing pretty much what I just discussed and talked about. We have good service, we have good quality or level of service and speeds, and we have somehow sort of a gap. Not everybody that has access is subscribing. And looking at the map that's showing now, this is good. The Central Mass region is one of the higher average rates of internet service across the state. We're higher than, the Metro Boston area. We're higher than the North Shore and higher than the South Shore, and only Cape Cod and more rural areas west of us have a higher internet rate. So, and the graphic on the right shows the breakdown of proportions of the population lacking a computer or broadband internet. And as you can see, we said that citywide it's about 11%, but in other areas of the city, particularly around the downtown and other areas, rates are higher than 15%, and as high as 27% in one census tract, right? So almost 30% of the population in one census tract isn't subscribing to internet. This is an interesting graphic. I'm not going to go through each and every aspect of it, but it's in the plan. I encourage you to look at it or look at the version of this presentation that'll be posted. It's really interesting to see the different dynamics of, where certain covered populations exist in higher rates than others across the city. With that, we move into Section 5, Community Needs. Some of the major needs that we identified were the need for additional devices and public computer workstations, the need for public Wi-Fi and hotspots or digital equipment and technology available, say, through the library where you can rent a hotspot. Right now, the library has a certain number of hotspots. They're almost always loaned out at any given time, and when they come back in, they tend to go back out really quickly. They've identified a need. They could use more hotspots, and this particular funding program can pay for that, so that's a great thing. There's a need for more digital literacy classes and resources, and that doesn't necessarily mean that the city needs to build up staff capacity to provide that. We actually encourage the city to look into partnerships with social services organizations that are already providing those services or could provide them, rather than build up those services innate within city positions. Rather than build city capacity and take on other responsibilities and costs, we're encouraging the city to partner with other organizations that are well equipped to provide digital literacy services. Additional resources for digital learning, engagement, opportunities, particularly at the library, the senior center, the veterans center, and at City Hall. Additional hotspots, again, is noted in reference particularly to the schools. The schools use some hotspots for students that either for a long period of time or for a period of time in transition, for one reason or another, they don't have access to the internet. Most of the students now, all high school students, have part of their curriculum and some of their take-home assignments are online, so it's important that they have access to the internet. So we identified that as a need. And updating the town website. The city has an excellent website, right, and it's visually appealing, but there is room for improvement. We met with the Disability Commission, and there are certain things that could be improved for accessibility on the website. So we made that recommendation here because it's not every day you'll have a grant that will pay for that type of a thing. This particular grant will, so it was a suggestion that was made. With that, I'm going to read this word for word just because it really sums up the plan well, I think. And this is the vision statement and the mission that was established here. The city of Fitchburg envisions itself as a digital equity and inclusion leader and will implement and let me see if I can move this here. I think I can. Part of my screen was blocked, sorry. Will implement and promote the goals and actions of this plan to champion initiatives and create and pursue new opportunities in a way that honors the commitment and is deserving of such recognition as the City of Digital Equity and Inclusion. With thoughtful and inclusive planning, it is our mission through the implementation of this plan to promote digital equity through increased access to affordable services and programs. We are confident that this mission can be accomplished by providing the city's residents and visitors tools, resources, programs, services, and opportunities needed to achieve higher levels of digital inclusion and literacy. We believe the city's vision and mission can be further advanced through the establishment of free, open, and secure public access to reliable high-speed internet and internet-connected devices and workstations, and providing digital navigation and training services to advance digital literacy, safety, security, and individual levels of comfort and convenience among people of all ages and abilities. That's a mouthful, but ultimately this plan lays out the framework for incorporating and implementing all of those things. And the key there is that the city cannot and should not be aiming to do this alone. Through partnerships and the stakeholders that were identified in this process, the framework really does exist to implement these things on a broader scale. The goals that were identified for the city: improving effectiveness and efficiency in local initiatives, increasing access to internet, expanding internet access and digital literacy, further developing the city's technological resources, like at the library and other places by providing computer workstations, and seeking funding to advance these opportunities and investments over the long term. Like I said, a lot of these funding programs are available right now, so it's a good timing. And becoming a leader in digital equity through collaboration, inclusion, education, and programming. As a gateway city, the city of Fitchburg is a leader regionally and really stands to benefit the entire region with its digital literacy and services that come through this plan. And I think the city can really stand out in that way. And then finally, providing digital literacy training and skill building opportunities for people of all ages and abilities. To accomplish those actions, those goals, we've identified 28 actions within the plan that I encourage you to have a look at. And I would say close to half of those actions fall under the two programs that are currently available for funding through MBI. And I would encourage the city to apply to both of those programs. I think there's already some thoughts about doing that, and MRPC can assist in the process for the implementation grant. As far as next steps go, we have a public comment period that's currently underway. We've already received some minor comments, one about the cost of Chromebooks for the schools. In the past, the schools paid as much as $400 per Chromebook. That price included a lifetime service agreement and replacement warranty. The good news is I got an email back from Eileen Spinney at the school's IT department, and she said that cost has gone down and not up. So she asked us to update it in the plan. That cost is now at $340 per Chromebook. So it isn't too often costs go down in the last couple of years. In this case, one did, so she wanted us to make sure we updated it when she reviewed the plan. So things like that. Fitchburg Fiber commented that their speeds are higher than what we had written in the plan, so we updated that. We didn't want to represent that wrongly because they're an important local ISP that's offering internet at a pretty low cost. So like those types of comments, we encourage the city council members and the audience here and online to go in, read the plan, have a look, and provide any comments and feedback you might have. You have until April 11th to provide feedback. On the next slide, I'll tell you exactly how to do that. And yeah, we encourage the feedback and we look forward to it. Once we do get the feedback, we make revisions. We're going to submit the final plan to MBI sometime soon after April 11th. And then once the plan is approved, the city will then be eligible to apply for their implementation funding. And then, yeah, from there, it's starting to make the improvements that the plan recommends. So as far as providing public comment, anyone who's interested in reviewing the plan can go to the city's webpage and download the plan from the webpage and through either the news and announcements page or through the digital equity planning page that's been created through the planning department's webpage. And any public comments can be submitted by email to comdev, COMMDEV, at fitchburgma.gov, or by mail to the Community Development and Planning Department at 718 Main Street, Fitchburg, MA 01420. And those, like I said, those comments will be accepted until April 11th, which is a Friday. With that, I would just like to acknowledge the council. Thank you for having us. And I would like to thank Mayor Squalia and the city, in particular Kimberly LeBlanc, project lead, who's been instrumental in preparing this plan and coordinating the process. I'd like to thank the Mass Broadband Institute, the core team working group members who were assigned through the planning department, but included not just city staff, other interested stakeholder groups as well. and participating stakeholders and residents, which played a large role in gathering the information that we needed, and then the team at MRPC. Thanks to everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. If I may.
Go right ahead.
I just want to let council know, once the public comment period is over, we'll incorporate any comments into the plan, and then we'll be submitting that plan back to you for your approval, for your formal approval. So today was just the presentation. We're not asking you to approve anything. We want to get those final comments in before you approve it.
All right. Questions, comments from council? Councilor Green.
My only question, and I'm not sure who could answer this, is so we've gotten the funding for the plan, but then do we have to apply for more funding then to implement the plan? And is this going to be completely, how is it going to be funded? Through grants only, or what's our cost to the city?
The great thing about this program is that there is no cost to the city. There hasn't been up until now for planning, completely, fully funded through MBI, which is also not unheard of, but it's unusual, so that's great. There's been no cost to the city for planning, and there is no match requirement for the implementation funds either, which is another great thing. The $56,603.77 that I referenced earlier is currently on reserve, meaning non-competitive. It's being held, already allocated to and for the city of Fitchburg. The city put in their reservation of funds agreement months ago to hold those funds. So automatically the city's eligible for that amount non-competitively. Through the grant application, they can request up to $100,000. And I encourage the city to do that because, well, for a couple of reasons. But one, I mentioned being a gateway city and a large hub within the region, I think Fitchburg should and most likely will be eligible for closer to the $100,000. And so I encourage you to put in the full amount, put in a competitive application. You will be guaranteed that $56,000 and change because it's already on reserved. And fingers crossed, and with some hard work through the planning department, which I know they're up for, I think the city will get closer to $100,000, if not all of it. And we're here to help with that. MRPC, 10% of the planning funds, that $40,000, so about $4,000 is at our disposal to help the city with that application over the next few weeks. So, or the consulting, this is what I was talking about, how this is a great program. Usually we do a plan, we hand it off, you hope it gets used, but a lot of times it goes on a shelf, and then you wait or you look really hard for the funding to come about. In this particular case, the funding is there, and they actually set aside 10% of funds for MRPC, not just to do the plan, but to then help move the plan into implementation. So we're there to help apply for that first grant. And a lot of the work that we've done with the city already will help inform the other grant program that I referenced, the Launchpad program, which is really the city can apply for more than $100,000 through that program. I think that program is upwards of $1 million for the right program and for really big regional programs. My guess is the city puts together a competitive application. It could be somewhere in the $100,000 to $250,000, $300,000 range even, to really put together an application and implement a lot of what's in the plan here. So again, I encourage the city to do that, to really look at this action plan and to put forward as many of the goals and actions as they can through those two grant opportunities, because right now those opportunities exist. And I'll say one more really important thing. The Worcester County, all of Worcester County, has been identified as a priority area for that Launchpad program. So the first half of the funds are reserved in 56, right? You apply for that. The other program that's available right now, Worcester County, of which Fitchburg's one of the largest cities in Worcester County, is a priority area, right? So I think the city's going to score really well on that other grant as well. So this is a great opportunity.
And is there any monies available? We have the streaming bill before us. I don't know if you do anything with local access or if you're just strictly internet access, but this is a population, this is a community that relies very heavily on our local access. So is there anything through MRPC that could help with us bringing forth that funding, because as you know, people are dropping off of cable services, going to streaming, there's going to be a void there. So we don't need a commitment tonight, but are you the agency, are you the company, are you the people that could help us bridge that gap for that particular?
The answer to that, in short, is no, but it's a problem that we're aware of, and because of that, we highlighted it in the plan. And as a planning agency, we might be able to help the city plan and move forward to finding grants and finding solutions to that challenge or that problem, which is why we identified it in the plan. It's identified in all of our plans. We did 9 plans for communities within the region, and that's a problem that not a lot of people are aware of, right? The cable access channels are funded specifically by cable television subscriptions. That's their main funding mechanism. And now cable access has become so important in the digital world, they're pushing now a lot of streaming content. They're doing a lot of digital advertising, all of these things, right? And different types of technology and preserving film, right? Taking old film from, say, the athletic department of old football and hockey games and things like that. And they're able to preserve this film and other historical films and documents, right? Through scanning and other technologies that they offer. That's so far from what they started out doing and what their cause was and what their, how they get their funding, right? Through cable television subscriptions. It's an old model. There's no better way to put it. You can't really sugarcoat it. It's an old model of funding and probably a poor model that's now starting to quickly become outdated. So all of the things that cable access are doing, we can't solve that problem at MRPC or in this room, but by recognizing the problem and putting it in a plan, it makes it more widely known. I didn't know about it going into this, and that's why I think I'm a little long-winded here, because I think it's worth talking about and letting people know that that challenge exists, right? And that somehow, some way, we're going to have to find other funding sources for cable access to continue to not only do what they currently do, but to build and expand on what they do, which they're doing, right? They're not going in the other direction, and especially since COVID-19, what they do and what they produce is going up, probably almost exponentially, right? It's not going down. So they're doing all kinds of great things, and they're trying to do it with less money because at the same time, as we all know, some of us here in the room have probably cut our cable, right? Cable subscriptions are going down, so funding for that is going down. So I've said enough. We can't solve the problem tonight, but we've identified it in the plan here, and maybe there's a reason why Fitchburg can't be a part of the solution moving forward as we start to continue to kind of talk about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That was a great question.
Councilor Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for coming in. It's a great presentation. The report is very thorough. I just really have kind of one observation, maybe a comment, and you kind of touched on it a little bit with Councilor Green's question. One thing I really did not see too much of in the report is kind of the public and private relationship with broadband providers. So what does that relationship look like as we do all of these things as a city to roll out digital equity and to expand our digital footprint, if you will? What does the future look like in that realm? Because you mentioned Fitchburg Fiber, and personally I would like to see us collaborate with them on unrolling all of these plans versus a Verizon who has the resources to take advantage of us.
Yep. Well, I think supporting local business is always a good thing, right? They're in your town and they're a member of the town, and they live, work, shop, play, all the things, right, in the same town, typically when you have a small business, right? Some of your large corporations, especially national corporations, maybe not so much. We were careful not to focus too much on that because we didn't want to advocate for any one service or another, but we think the plan paints the picture pretty clearly that there are other affordable options, and that Fitchburg Fiber appears to be one of them, and they seem to be growing and doing a really good job of it. So yeah, we encourage that and wish them success and hope that they are successful, and in many ways we hope that the city does build collaboration and partnerships with them, because I think a lot of what's in the plan is something that they could probably do. The other things we saw that the city is doing well that I'll commend the council for at the higher levels of the city and encourage you to keep doing it is the putting in fiber conduit. So even if you're not putting fiber underground, whenever there's a new construction project that requires a certain length of roadway to be repaved, if it's completely taken up and redone, or if they're doing underground work, they're putting in empty conduit for the future. And that's really smart, and it's good to plan that way, because part of the reason why we're in the situation we are with old and aging infrastructure, and what we came to realize mainly through COVID-19, and all of a sudden the real need to go remote and to have schooling remote and online, and city council meetings and state level meetings and all of these things, right? The streaming, we weren't doing a lot of this just a few years ago. We are now. So we realized some of the shortcomings, and, you know, when we'd get internet service interruptions here and there once in a while, you know, it was something we were learning to live with. But all of a sudden, as YouTube and all of these other, you know, video media things, and now with Zoom and streaming and all of these things, yeah, our bandwidth is getting eaten up pretty quickly. And we realize that, you know, our internet service needs to be at a higher speed and more, you know, reliable in its service. And, you know, downtown Fitchburg is one place where you would think the internet would be at its best. But because it's mostly underground here, the Xfinity infrastructure is mostly underground. And, you know, Main Street sitting in a valley like it does, a lot of drainage comes down through there. And Xfinity internet being a cable coaxial fiber, over time, there's been corrosion probably to much of the Xfinity. And it's part of the reason why service reliability in that coaxial infrastructure of Xfinity is less good in the downtown Fitchburg, and in a place where you need it to be not less good, right? You need it to be a lot better, right? It's where you need it the most. You have your library, your courthouse, some of your schools, a lot of businesses, right? So you need really good, reliable internet downtown. And planning for the future, whether it be a municipal fiber loop, whether it be a partnership with an ISP like Fitchburg Fiber, whether it be some other option, some of the things identified in this plan, I'd encourage the city to keep moving in that direction, because ultimately fiber optic is the most current and best technology for providing internet.
Thank you. I guess my concern is that, you know, the funds to implement this plan and to produce the plan are grant funded, but once we implement it, depending on the provider, our costs could really spike. That we still need to provide the internet. So maybe this is a question for you, Liz, but you know, if we're expanding all of this digital equity and access, it is going to incur cost to the city to provide this. Maybe not with the plan or implementation, but over time.
I think, excuse me, right now the focus has been on the smaller actionable items, because maybe redoing all of Fitchburg's internet service is a really lofty goal that is probably be great to have that level of consistent high-speed internet, but is a vast undertaking. I'm not sure that we would have the resources to really carry out something like that.
Yeah. No,
but maybe the partnership we could do. So right now, but we're focused more on the very concrete things, small $100,000 project things that we could take care of, which really would, I think, benefit the patrons that come to the library, being able to rent the hotspots, getting more workstations and some literacy at the senior center, at the veterans center. I think I'm
Senior
leaving
center,
something else.
focus areas, senior center, veteran center, library, town hall.
Yeah.
And potentially we encourage more work to be done with the housing authority as well. Several of the housing authority properties have common rooms, and we think that there's other funding avenues there too that you could tap into, because it's housing. And yeah, I would encourage them to looking at the more complete picture, to consider the housing authorities as well as the senior centers, the library, the town hall, veteran center. Veteran center in particular, they have their own space up there, and it's really nice. And you know, it's important. A lot of what came out for the needs for veterans is being comfortable, receiving training, a place where they're comfortable. And it may not be at the library. It may not even be downstairs in the senior center with the other seniors. In most cases, it's in their own, you know, room where they're comfortable, and they have a nice space up there. We went up and looked at it and interviewed the director there, Michelle, talked with her, and I would encourage that is listed as part of it. A couple of computers for that space as well.
Okay. No, don't get me wrong. I'm for expanding digital equity, and I mean, if we could flip a switch to have municipal broadband, that would be amazing. But that's not in the picture for us right now. I'm sure that I'll prove this when it comes before us again. I guess my main concern is just making sure we don't get tied to the wrong partners.
Yeah, and I encourage you not to, right? Luckily, this plan isn't regulatory and it doesn't tie you to anything. And right now, the two major funding sources that are available to the municipality. And MRPC is actually considering developing an approach or a framework and trying to bring some of those partners together to lessen the load for our cities and towns. And if we're able to do that and develop a hub and spoke based system where digital literacy courses can be brought out to various locations, we'd like to actually help to try to identify those partners and maybe take a lead in writing a regional grant to do that literacy. Because digital literacy is a huge investment in time and expertise, and not every city or town has the capacity to do that. And especially the larger cities or the very small rural communities are just, there's no way they could do it themselves. And so we're looking to try to, for that reason, we're trying to identify that, create that framework and identify those partners at a regional level if we can, because it seems to make the most sense. But as part of that, would like to create a coalition and would like membership from important stakeholders from every community, definitely 1 or 2 city representatives and a couple of important stakeholders to be part of this digital equity coalition moving forward. And that's just another way that after these next couple of years, when these first grant funds are done, and as the plan does start to be 2 or 3 years old, that it's not forgotten about. We've got a coalition of regional participants that are meeting quarterly, or even monthly, and a couple of times a year, maybe on a larger scale with other partners, to really keep moving this forward over time. And we look at this as a 5-year plan. So Liz mentioned that right now we're looking at really actionable items that these particular grant programs can pay for. The larger infrastructure, like bringing internet to city blocks and corridors and larger areas, that might be part of the 7 to 10 year plan. As this plan nears its completion, my hope is that the city can tackle most or all of the things on this plan. I can say that with some level of confidence. These are feasible, actionable items, and I think the city can, with some luck and some hard work, incorporate a lot of these things and get them done. And the next iteration of this plan, 5 years from now, is we're writing the new plan that will take us out 7 to 10 years from now. That plan might include bigger things, and there may be more money at that time for larger, co-ops and maybe municipal internet, or maybe fiber is more affordable, and there are other ways to do it and distribute internet, along light posts and things like that citywide. So we're looking forward. I mean, this plan will be a living, growing plan.
Thank you. Appreciate your answer. It sounds like I'm maybe a little ahead of myself here. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.
Councilor Schultz.
Yes, thank you, Councilor Zorla. You mentioned focus groups. I was interested, you mentioned the library a little bit, but I was interested in how your focus group went down at the senior center, because there's a big need for access at the senior center. It has been for a long time. I mean, you mentioned the Veterans Center upstairs. It's a building that really needs access, and I was just wondering if they were able to express that pretty well. And
They were. So not only is it's a beautiful building, right? But it's brick, the old armory, and it's a pretty awesome place and a great space. Perfect for what they want and need to do in there, right? You've got the big hall and the nice side rooms and meeting rooms. But there's a lot of brick walls and even interior brick walls, and they have a hard time distributing internet throughout that building. But they've also tried to make that happen with limited funds over the years as well. And with an influx of funding like this, to really make sure the networking is done right and well, I think that some of those problems there with connectivity can be solved through better networking and new equipment and access points and nodes and things, even for the Wi-Fi. The wired network connections down there are pretty good. They're not great, but they're pretty good. It's the Wi-Fi that really has a major problem, and that some of what's in this grant with access points and kind of internal mesh networks and things I sound like I know what I'm talking about. I've learned a lot doing this. We hadn't done digital equity and internet planning before, right? So I'll be careful to make it known that I'm not an IT guy. But from what we've learned in here, there's technology that can really help that and improve that. And they did express that need. Gregor, you might want to add something.
You could bring the digital literacy there as well once you get the connectivity there. So,
Yeah. Gregor was with us there. It was one of the most productive focus group meetings, stakeholder group meetings we had. It was great. They were really receptive. It was awesome to be there, and we learned a lot. Anything you think to add?
Not that comes to mind, but we had a lot of participants and a lot of people interested in the project.
Yeah, I think they would love to have it really go gun-ho down at the senior center.
And they even went so far as to tell us when and at what time the digital literacy trainings would work best at the senior center. So if you get to that point, it's Monday mornings, okay?
Yeah.
4:11. That was their ideal time. I mean, that's how we didn't really. I'm not going to pretend we dug to the bottom of the well, but we really did spend a lot of time talking with them. And that question somehow came up. Oh, wait a minute, you have a lot going on here. Your calendar's always busy. What time would work good for things like this? And they thought about it, and they specifically said, yeah, Monday mornings would be good.
They want to make time for it, right?
Yeah, they wanted to make time. They gave it some thought, and they thought about it, and they said, it would fit best on Monday mornings. So they're serious about it, and they're much in need. So, yeah, I hope they get served by this. It's going to be great.
Thank you. I yield the floor.
Anyone else? Well, thank you very much for all the work you've put into this, and we will look forward to seeing the final version once the comment period has been incorporated.
Excellent. Thank you all. We look forward to getting it to you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And one more time, thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here. We have a report from the Board of Health on the offensive odor in Oak Ridge condominiums. Director Curry.
Good evening, councilors. To the best of my knowledge, there's been only 2 complaints since December regarding this issue. It will be interesting, and we'll continue to monitor as temperatures warm up to see if that makes a difference in the new treatment system at Greif. But other than that, it hasn't been an issue since December that I know of. I'm sorry, February we did have 1 complaint in February, but the sewage odor subsided before we were able to locate it.
Councilor Krucher?
Just a brief question. I know it was been reported that Greif Paper is going to be shutting down. Do you have any insight as to when that's going to happen? And
I believe they're reducing staff around May, and then I believe the final shutdown is scheduled for somewhere around October.
Okay.
Anyone else? All right. Oh, Councilor Green.
What impact will Greif closing have specifically, if any, for our wastewater treatment plants or further down the line?
As far as I know, it's the only sewage being treated at the West plant. So I think that would remove the one last customer that the West wastewater treatment plant has. I think that the West plant has much bigger ideas on a new treatment system, so I think it kind of falls in line with that, but obviously we don't want to be losing business in the city either, but it'll be interesting to see what that impact is, if anything.
Okay, and have you or the Board of Health been able to identify that the smell that was the concern was specifically from Greif, or could there be other sources of that?
It could be other sources. It could also be the sewer system up at the condo. It's possible. It was likely Greif, but we're not able to pinpoint it.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. President. So October, they're closing. Would you mind sharing with the council, like, the conditions of the closure as far as what they can what they need to break down and the things they need to do, as there's a considerable amount of...
I believe that they are preparing some closure reports, and if I get my hands on anything, I'll be glad to share it. I know they have been considering demolition of the building as well, so I don't... those are all up in the air, and final decisions haven't been made on their end yet, but as soon as I'm privy to any information, I'd be glad to share it.
Please do. I think the last thing we need is another building that we need to remediate.
I agree.
Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.
Conversation, I'm sorry.
Come on up.
We have talked to Greif and a few other players about this closure over time. Steve actually does have a little more information about the timeline, I think, than I do. But they are working, my understanding is they're working for a formal closure. They do intend to clean the site up. We have talked to them, we've talked to other folks, we've talked to the state, Mass Development, about potentially an opportunity here, right? So that's 126 acres of industrial zoned land next to about 25 acres of undeveloped city land and about 35 acres of undeveloped Weyerhaeuser land. It's like another 60 acres. Maybe I didn't do the math right, but so there's a lot of opportunity there that we'll be following up on. So even though this is a loss, and it's a loss of employees, and jobs, and long-term manufacturing, we also see this as an opportunity to reinvent that site as a potential. I couldn't even say what it could be an industrial park. It could be a lot of things, but we're on it, so to speak. We're not letting that go. This is a real opportunity for the city.
Good to hear. Thank you. I yield the floor.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilors.
Report of the Finance Committee. Councilor Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met on March 6th. We took up two agenda items. 061-25, order that the City of Fitchburg hereby approves the expenditure of Mosaic Opioid Recovery Partnership Grant funds from the Mass Department of Public Health, Bureau of Substance Addiction Services in the approximate amount of $40,000. That was unanimously approved. 062-25 was also unanimously approved. Order that the City of Fitchburg hereby appropriate the sum of $102,210 for reserve for other municipal purposes, capital expenses to police capital vehicle replacement. Again, unanimously approved.
Motion to accept.
Second.
I have motion and second. Madam Clerk, if you would call the roll.
Councilor Green?
Yes.
Councilor Schultz?
Yes.
Councilor Van Hazinger?
Yes.
Councilor Walsh?
Yes.
President Zarella?
Yes.
Councilor Boishman?
Yes.
Councilor Kuchar?
Yes.
Councilor Cruz?
Yes.
Councilor Fleming?
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Report of the Legislative Affairs Committee. Councilor Walsh.
Thank you, President Zarella. We met early, Legislative Affairs met earlier this evening. We had three items on the agenda. The first one was 020-25, an ordinance to adopt the provisions of General Law, Chapter 60, Section 62A, as amended by Section 89 through 91 of Chapter 140 of the Acts of 2024. What this ordinance does is it brings, we need to pass an ordinance so that we can adopt the provisions of Mass General Law and come into compliance with that, and it allows property taken or people who have fallen behind in their taxes. It extends the period of time when they may have enter into a repayment plan, and that was approved. 2725, an ordinance, the City Council of the City of Fitchburg, that the ordering of the prior insertions in Ordinance 009-2024 is hereby corrected as follows. Section 5 is struck in its entirety. Section 6 shall now insert a new Article 10 entitled Snow and Ice at the end of Chapter 169, Vehicles and Traffic. A new Section 169-103 entitled Duty to Remove Snow or Ice from Motor Vehicles shall be inserted under Article 10 and read as follows in Section 6 of Ordinance 009-2024. Basically, it was just to clarify numbering, misnumbering in the ordinance, and that was approved as well. Third item on the agenda, 031-25. The Planning Board is seeking to amend special permit fees and review of updated Planning Board fee schedule as enclosed in the packet. Ms. Karen and
Fontaine, Paul
Thank you.
Fontaine.
His name just went right out of my head. And Mr. Fontaine, we're here to go over the fee schedules as well as Director Murphy. Basically, these fees have not been amended since approximately 2008, and so it brings them more into reality for today's numbers, and in comparison with other communities in the area, brings it more into what is going on in other communities. And that was also approved as well.
Before we go to a motion, I actually have a quick question that I forgot to ask during the Legislative Affairs Committee. 02025, the adoption of the general laws,
Yes.
that is the adoption of a local option statute, correct? Or is that actually a separate and distinct ordinance that we are passing?
I think we are. I think what we're doing is we're updating our existing ordinance with this language.
Gotcha.
We have an existing ordinance. So we're really replacing 5
just
with
checking
10
because-
and 20% with 10%.
Gotcha. I was just checking because it said adopt the provisions, and that's usually the language we use for a local option. So I wanted to make sure that I got the procedure correct, whether we have to do first, second reading, et cetera. All right. Thank you. Do I have a motion?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Van Hazinga?
Yes.
Counselor Walsh?
Yes.
President Zarella?
Yes.
Counselor Bushman?
Yes.
Counselor Kuchar?
Yes.
Counselor Cruz?
Yes.
Counselor Fleming?
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. We have an order going to finance, order that there be and hereby is appropriated the sum of $150,000 from reserved for other municipal purposes, capital expenses, to school building maintenance capital improvement. That'll, as I said, that'll go to finance. Order that the City Council does hereby approve and authorize the mayor to execute a conservation restriction by and between Ralph Baker of Ashby West Road and the city. Actually, that needs to be amended. It says by and between. We don't have a second party listed, but that's, anyway, we know what we're doing here. If no one minds, I'm not going to read out the whole order, but that will go to city property. Residents of Park Street petitioning regarding concerns that Midnight Auto Repair Shop is taking over Park Street, leaving residents with no parking. That will go to public safety. Chief Suarez to petition for an increase in the license fee for fire alarm system monitoring from the current rate of $200 to $300 starting January 1st. With a request that this be deposited into an enterprise fund. The fee increase will go to the Finance Committee, and once we know what the legalities are we need to follow to establish an enterprise fund would be, that will end up going to Legislative, but that will come back to Council first. So that will go to Finance. Councillor Kuchar, on behalf of Paul Gagne and other residents, to change the status of Central Ave Extension from a paper road to an actual road. That will go to Public Works. And lastly, a resolution from myself on behalf of FATV in support of Senate Bill 41 and House Bill 91, the streaming bill, as per the enclosed resolution. That will go to Legislative Affairs. And that concludes our business for the evening.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and second to adjourn. Seeing no objections, we are adjourned.